The following episode of TOEFOP is rated MA. It may contain Batman references, time travel references, sexual references, lost trains of thought, and mild coarse language. TOEFOP advises that the program is not suitable for anyone under the age of 15 or anyone who enjoys succinct, coherent conversation that might actually have a point. Minors must be accompanied by a parent, guardian, or priest. This is John Deek speaking.
Everyone relax. This is TOEFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson. Hello.
We had a week off. We had to recover after the big TOEFOP Live at the Melbourne Comedy Festival.
Yes, I had to recover. I was feeling particularly unwell that evening, I've got to say.
I don't know. I mean, we sort of briefly talked about it on the actual show, which people maybe have heard by now, but you were ill.
Yeah.
Like, that's the illest I've ever seen you. Not in the Beastie Boys definition of ill.
No, not a license to will situation.
You had a license to vomit.
Yeah, it was. I've never had a situation like this before. Normally, when it comes to performing, I've had situations where I felt like I wanted to vomit before I went on stage, where I've not been feeling well. But normally, once you get out on stage, like, you know, Dr. Showbiz, the adrenaline and all those sort of things takes care
not
of you.
Dr. Showbiz.
Yeah,
not
not
Charlie Sheen, Dr. Showbiz.
Yeah, no, that's a whole different doctor. That's an unlicensed Dr. Showbiz.
Yeah, he works mainly in the nose.
Yeah, I think
area.
that doctor does not have actual medical credentials, Charlie. I think doctor might be...
Went to the University of Columbia.
I think you'll find that doctor just filled in a Qantas form where they said, "What's your title?" And they just put doctor, and people have called them doctor ever since then. I went on stage at the State Theatre, which is at the Arts Centre in Melbourne. I had a show earlier that night. Yeah. And at the start of the show, I was feeling fantastic. And halfway through the show, I literally had a moment in the show where I was like, oh my God, I'm about to vomit on stage. And I felt like in the audience, you would have seen me go completely grey and just start sweating. And for about the next 5 minutes, I can't remember what I said. I left out a big chunk of my show, which I only discovered when I went to do the callback to that chunk in the final bit. And it did not get a good response. And I was like, oh, fuck, I didn't do any of that bit.
And that's why I always say, wear your hat in summer.
It was pretty much like that. I did this thing which normally gets this huge response, and it got nothing. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't do that bit because that was in the bit of the show where I was trying desperately not to vomit on stage at the Arts Centre.
Yeah, because you spoke to me before we went on stage, and you're like, I'm just feeling a little ill. I don't know if it's a cold and flu tablets or whatever. I'll be fine. And then when we got onto stage and we sat down, I looked over. And you were in the shape of a horseshoe. Like your head was so close to your knees because you were just trying desperately to compress, I imagine, the stomach region where the vomit was sitting.
No, I was trying to blow myself. I don't know what you try to do while we do podcasts, but I try to blow myself. It's a live show, Charlie. You got to bring something for people who paid $35.
Finally, after 130 something episodes, this is what we came to see.
I mean, if I had managed to blow myself with my bad hips, the crowd would have gone wild.
Wouldn't it have been great to listen to? If you're there, it would have been amazing.
Well, that's why you have to come to live shows. You don't get to see me trying to blow myself during these ones. We were going to catch a tram from the Arts Centre up to the show. And I actually said to Kathleen and my manager, my producer who was there with me, I said, I just don't think I can even get on board. Like, I don't want to vomit on a tram. I'd rather just walk up on the street.
Mate,
and you know that thing
the first hour of the show would have written itself if you had. Like, can you imagine? I have just vomited on a group of people on a tram. Bang, show's done.
The reason I was looking down at my groin was I thought if I looked up at the roof, I would see a baby crawling across it, train spotting style. That's how I felt. I felt like I've never had heroin to come off, but I felt like somebody had accidentally slipped me some heroin and now I was going through withdrawals.
And so did you feel, was there any stage did you feel like I can't go on?
When people kept giving me beers, like, this is how somebody else said to me afterwards. They goes, I knew you were actually sick because every time someone gave you a beer, you would mime having a drink of it and then you would put it down next to you.
You are a terrible actor.
Next to the 8 other beers that were sitting next to me on stage. Yeah, I felt absolutely terrible, but the show itself was great. All our guests were fantastic.
I don't think anyone. All the feedback I got. I mean, look, it's always going to be positive. We don't get many people coming to the show, buying a ticket just to tell us they hated it, but people really enjoyed it. And the great thing I'd say, because this is the second time we've done a show in the Comedy Theatre, which is like, a capacity of like 1,000, is it still feels like a TOFOP show. Like there was always that concern. I always had this thing about rap music, for instance. I always enjoy seeing rap when it's in a kind of club or a sort of contained area. Every time I've seen it on a big stage, unless there's like a fucking 14-piece orchestra, I'm like, oh no, it's better when it's small and intimate. It's not like kind of a live thing. Sort of worried about that with our podcast. Like, oh, we'll do a 300-seater at the town hall in a smaller room. If we go to a big stage, does that somehow lose it? But I felt like in all the moments where it wasn't a big show, where something stupid or dumb or minor or whatever, or
the moments of awkward silence.
It felt like a TOFOP show when things were going wrong. When my big centerpiece moment about making these fucking badges completely collapses on itself and the entire audience is scratching their heads, I'm like, oh, now it feels like TOFOP.
Well, the thing about the badge thing it was one of those ideas that, so run people through what you imagined would happen.
Well, every time we do a live show,
Yes.
I like to bring a little something.
Yeah,
like
which
just a
I
little bit
appreciate.
something. And so
Some content.
I was thinking about it when I was in LA. It's like, fuck, like I actually have not had time to think of anything. There's nothing that came to mind that I could bring out and do 10 minutes on or whatever. And then people started contacting me on Twitter about, oh, it's the 5-year anniversary of Superpod.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, there's something. And so I started thinking about, well, what could I do on stage that might be funny? Like I thought, at some points I was like, well, maybe I'll write like some kind of in memoriam for Deeksy to read or whatever. And then I was like, oh, could I go more elaborate where I have like kids come out holding candles or something like that? Like I really started, what would sum it up? It's like,
What I love the most about this, though, is, of course, the conceit at the heart of it is that we're constantly celebrating and referring back to a thing that, by the very nature of what happened, no one really heard.
and probably I would argue the amount of listeners we have now, the majority of them would not have any idea what
Oh, no.
Superpod
When
was.
we were talking about Superpod, in that room of people who'd paid to see the show, there were a lot of blank and confused faces.
So it was a gamble. I knew it was a gamble, but part of me was like, but if it comes off. So
Yeah, I like to feel like it's, Midnight Oil are getting back together and they're going to tour all over the world. And they've learnt all their songs. They've learnt like 170 songs and they're going to play some really obscure shit. I feel like that's what that was.
Yeah,
it was
opening-
like
opening
we
with a
came
B
out
track.
Midnight Oil, and we played 4 songs off our first album that we never played live.
well, actually, you know what it was? Is when we did the Superpod reunion where we got Greg and Dave
Yeah.
on stage.
Back.
And we got Deeksy to read that in memoriam moment and stuff. And it went down really well.
Yeah.
And I was like,
because the guys who did the Superpod with us were there.
we're there. And it made sense. But that was kind of my idea, was like, oh, this is the more overblown I can make this, considering it is such a footnote and so minor. And the dudes that we, did the show with aren't even here. Like maybe that will be the joke in itself. Turns out that was the joke.
Yeah.
It's just that people were laughing at us, not with us.
By the way, in a very old school moment, we haven't had one of these for a while. One of the dogs has just let rip with one of.
Oh, really?
It will come your way in a minute. I'm
Okay,
imagining
great.
that it's one that has their bum pointed towards me. from
Ramona's
the-
ass is pointed directly at you.
So she's got to be suspect number 1, seeing that you're not getting it and I'm getting it like full force. I would suggest that's what's happened. If it feels like I'm not breathing for a couple of minutes, or that I'm talking with my nose blocked, that's because I'm talking with my nose blocked.
Well, this is people. Oh, and I've got it. It just hit me. SBD, and a real fucking. Yeah, that was like an M. Night Shyamalan fart, where it's like, oh, there, I get it. Well done, Ramona. In case you can't tell, Will and I are actually in the same room. The reason why we don't get a lot of the banter on TOFOP
Yeah, it's
lately
true.
is because we're often not in the same country.
No, that's true. And it's very hard to describe a fart over Skype. It's good. We're in the same room. In fact, we're already 2 hours deep in podcasting today because we just did an episode of our football podcast,
Yeah.
2 Guys, 1 Cup, which you should have been able to hear by the time that you're hearing this. So, we're well warmed up.
Yeah.
We're into the day. And I've also come with some content today, Charlie.
All right. What is it?
Well, there's just been a lot of like TOEFOP related things that have been sent our way that I just thought we should
let's do it.
we should talk about today. First one that I got sent this week. Tom Hardy was in the news. I don't know if you saw this story, but I'm going to read it to you. Tom Hardy, real life action hero, chases down a motorbike thief in London.
Wow.
Now, you may have guessed from the headline some of the details of this story. It's either horrible luck or the greatest... Oh, hang on. Sorry, the ads
What?
just...
Hang on. So we have pre-roll ads on our stories?
Yeah, we do, apparently. That's how we're getting advertising into the show, when it links through from the Ages website. This story is by Rob Moran. It's either horrible luck or the greatest story in a petty criminal's life. You manage to swipe a motorbike only to be run down by a marauding Mad Max. Actor Tom Hardy, although... sorry, Rob Moran, but it's actually spelt in this article on The Age. Actor Tom Hardley.
Oh, no. And people wonder why journalism's going in the toilet. Tom Hardley.
Maybe it wasn't
Tom Hardy.
at all.
No.
Maybe it was another guy who's a Tom Hardy impersonator, but he legally has to go by the name Tom Hardley.
I mean, it's a
because
great
he looks
pun,
like Tom Hardy, but he
but-
can't do any of the things that Tom Hardy can actually
Exactly.
do.
It's the perfect name for an impersonator.
We want a Tom Hardy type. Oh, I think we can get Tom Hardley.
Well, actually, it's hardly Tom.
That's on his business card.
Yeah, hardly
Tom
Tom.
Hardley. Hardly Tom.
Hardly Tom Hardy.
Used to be a porn star. All right. Actor Tom Hardley apprehended a teen thief who crashed a stolen motorbike in South London traffic. According to witnesses, the actor sprinted after the boy after he attempted to flee the scene. This is the witness who's saying this. It was mental.
It was metal.
It was mental. It was mental. It was mental. Like he'd switched to superhero mode in an action movie. That's
Gov?
how the guy actually talked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Governor?
A witness told the Sun. Two boys on the... this is the best. This person must have spoken like this because this is the quote. It was mental, like he'd switched to superhero mode in an action movie. Two boys on the nicked moped had jumped a red light and smashed into a car. Tom must have been walking down the road. He went off like
God blimey, I dropped my bloody tea when I saw that.
he went off like a shot in pursuit
I choked on my beggars and mash.
and looked furious. I asked Tom what happened, and he told me he chased him through my back garden and caught him around the block. The witness said, adding that Hardy proudly pronounced. Okay, he said 4 words. I'm going to let you guess what the
Max?
4 words
My
would
name
be.
is Max.
All right, one of the words is I. The first word is I. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Second word is caught, and I want you to supply
The
the last 2 words.
A thief.
A thief is one way you could have put it. Yeah, I caught a thief. That's what he could have said, but he didn't. No, I caught thee. I caught the.
I caught the bad guy. I caught the bloke. I caught the. Give me a hint. What's the last word?
Starts with C.
Caught the cunt. I caught the soft bump. Little callback to our other show.
Tom Hardy's clearly not a man you mess with. I think he even checked the kid's ID before the cops took over.
What the fuck is going on?
Hang
This
on.
article does not seem legit.
In what sounds like
He
a scene.
checked the kid's ID. Under what circumstances, even if you're making a citizen's arrest, do you then need to see the kid's ID?
I mean, what are you running the ID through?
Exactly.
It's not like you can check it with your records.
He just wanted to cut up some cocaine. He's like, oi, give me your license. Why? Do you need to check my ID? No, just
I'm off my head on rack. I'm chasing children down the street and tackling them off motorbikes.
I'm hanging out with Dr. Showbiz. You don't get it.
Here we go. In what sounds like a scene from one of his films, the
Yeah,
son-
it does. I got to be honest with you, fucking Paul Moran.
maybe he was just filming a scene from one of his
Yeah,
films.
exactly.
And a guy just doesn't understand how cameras
English
work.
movie star was seen driving a car through a desert, chased by marauding. No, they were filming Fury Road.
Yeah.
Hollywood heartthrob Tom Hardy was seen wearing a mask chasing Batman. No. Again, Paul, it's a movie. You're visiting. You're an entertainment reporter. We fly you to the sets of film. His editor saying to him, Paul, look, when we send you on location, it's a movie. It's make pretend. No, I saw. The Hulk is fighting Thor on an alien planet. Chris Hemsworth was being attacked by the Hulk. No. Oh, God, Paul, how do we explain this? There is fiction and there's reality. You're an entertainment reporter.
The Sun said the star vaulted walls as he sprinted after the crook, then grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and patted him down for concealed weapons.
This is bullshit. Okay, firstly, if he's vaulting walls, and this is coming from one eyewitness or multiple eyewitnesses.
Well, this seems like a second eyewitness.
But if he vaults one wall, how do you see, like, how can you see the next? I mean, unless you're watching from a building, I guess. If you're watching this from a building, and you can see, because otherwise, if you're on ground level,
Right.
you see,
As soon as he
like
vaults-
if Tom Hardy came into your backyard
Yeah.
right now
And vaulted the
and
fence.
vaulted that fence,
Yep.
we don't know if he's vaulted multiple fences.
It's a good point. Well, I guess when he vaulted the next fence, we'd see him appear above our fence as he was vaulting over that fence.
Well,
So you'd see him vault our fence, and then you'd see nothing when he ran across the thing. But then as he vaulted, like Ferris Bueller style, off the trampoline over the fence, you'd still see the top of his head go over the next fence.
Okay, all right, I'll pay that.
Yeah.
All right.
I liked your argument. Maybe the wall wasn't that high. Maybe the walls
Or
was
they're
vaulted.
watching from like an apartment building.
Oh,
and you're looking
sorry.
into
I always get
backyards.
walls confused with gutters. He vaulted a couple of gutters. Sorry, stepped up over the gutter. He sprinted after the crook and, patted him down for concealed weapons. Now, it's been established this kid was a minor, right?
Yeah.
Surely you're not allowed to pat down a minor, regardless
so.
of...
Also, why you like? I mean, all right. So I'm assuming he's apprehended the kid. The
Yeah.
kid's like given up. Like, wouldn't you just say to them, like, if you're worried about them carrying a weapon, wouldn't you just tell them, just like, if you know, if you got a weapon, like, why do you have to pat him down? Like, either you're under threat where you're defending yourself from this kid, and there's no time. Like, the only time you're patting someone down is when they have submitted, right, to a pat down.
Uh-huh.
So you've got him. Like, just wait for the police to arrive. This didn't happen, by the way. I'm convinced this... What is this newspaper? The Sun.
Scotland Yard Police
Oh, shit.
later confirmed the report, saying 2 16-year-old males ran off and one was detained by Tom Hardy.
Bored
Although-
about Tom Hardley.
all by Tom Hardley. Under the alias Tom Hardley. Real name Tom Hardley. Although the actor's spokesperson declined to comment.
Oh, that means he did it.
Hardley, 39, who recently co-created and starred in the BBC period drama Taboo,
Yeah, lost a lot of money on that, apparently.
will be... Well, that's why he was running after the kids. He actually needed the motorbike.
Yeah.
Will next be seen in Dunkirk. Yeah, okay. Well, they've put a couple of plugs in at the end. But
Oh,
yeah.
right.
So,
Fascinating.
there you go.
Citizen's Arrest
Yeah.
by Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardley. So speaking of Tom Hardley, here's another story
Oh, yeah.
that might be of interest to us. Fury Road, the challenge facing Mad Max sequels. Franchise creator George Miller has said both installments of the Mad Max sequels have already been written. So he's come out and he's kind of announced there'll be the first of the two movies. Miller said would be called Mad Max: The Wasteland.
Hang on. I read this article.
Yep.
I don't know if this is news. I feel like I've heard this before, that we knew that there was such an abundance of material. They had other films ready to go.
Yeah, but I mean, now he's saying we've got 2 screenplays.
But didn't they always have that?
Well, I think he said that he had a whole world
Or he
and
had a
different
story,
stories, but
whether
now
it
he's
was
kind of saying,
screenplays.
now he's saying we've got screenplays.
Okay, sorry, continue.
So the first of the 2 movies, Miller said would be called Mad Max: The Wasteland.
Is that a bit redundant? Like, you know, it's like you don't say Star Wars Outer Space. You know what I mean? Like, of course it's the Wasteland. You know what I mean? It's Mad Max.
I mean, that's a good point. Like Fury Road, like
Jurassic Park, dinosaurs.
Indiana Jones, archaeology.
Fast and the Furious, cars. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a bit too much information. It's almost like it's one step short of snakes on a plane.
Well, it's the wasteland, not wasteland. So
Yeah.
you know there might be a specific wasteland.
Yeah.
That they're
It'd be
talking
amazing
about.
if it was Max Mad Teenage Wasteland. Wouldn't that be amazing? Like a Dazed and Confused style teen coming of age story set in Mad Max's Wasteland.
Or wouldn't we like to see like young Max, like a young, like you do this sort of like
No, because okay. All right.
just as he's becoming mad
Hang on.
as a teenager.
No, but Max didn't become mad until the end of the first film when his
Right.
wife and kid get killed.
Uh huh.
So it'd be maybe Max's first mad experience with feeling anger.
Well, it'd be
Mildly
Mild-
miffed Max.
mild Max,
Mildly miffed Max.
mildly miffed Max.
But if you did a teenage Mad Max, so when they pick up the first film,
Yeah, moody Max.
it's not full.
He's not mad,
It's
he's
not
just
full
moody.
dystopia. It's
Yeah.
kind of civilization is on the brink of collapse. There's still some.
So it's set right now.
yeah. Oh my god, that is terrifying. You're
It's
right.
set at this exact point in time.
Yeah, because in about 10 years,
Civilization is on the brink of collapse. We don't know if it'll be nuclear war. We don't know if it'll be crazy leaders. We don't know if it'll be
Roman
climate change.
gangs.
It'll be, vaccines going backwards and people getting diseases they shouldn't get. But it's all in place. It's ready to go.
Fucking, you're right.
Right. So and
Maybe
then,
Tom
and then
Hardy.
there's a
If Tom
teenager
Hardy-
called Max, Moody Max.
But if Tom Hardy is fucking tackling kids in the street now, where the civilization's on the brink of collapse, maybe he will become Mad Max in this
Right.
new. He seems like a righteous person on a quest for vengeance.
Started tackling a couple of kids off a motorbike.
My
but
God, that would be amazing. You know what I mean? That would be like taking the Three Amigos or Tropic Thunder to the next level. The concept that someone who pretends to be someone actually becomes that person in real life. Imagine if Tom Hardy became the real life Mad Max.
Well, maybe that's what George Miller's working on, is his
Oh.
piece to the resistance, right?
Well, because I think they say in this article, how do you top Fury Road?
Yeah.
Like, maybe they shouldn't make a sequel. That's how you do it.
You top it
by having a real apocalypse and having Tom Hardy.
Well, sorry, the dogs are fighting over a bottle.
You into
So
that idea?
yeah, they're pretty into that idea.
Of, like
Pretty mad.
George Miller doing a real
Mad
world
Mona.
Mad Max.
And Mad Winona. How do you guys feel about it? You're fighting over a water bottle.
That's symbolic.
Much like.
We will be doing.
And also
2 weeks. Another one?
girls, Come
Oh,
on.
Jesus Christ.
Come on, outside.
Now, for the first time, Will is actually expelling the dogs from the pod cave. This doesn't happen. Ramona is protesting, and she's sitting right next to me, which means I'll get it first. The next one that comes.
Correct. So I've put a buffer in between Ramona and I. And that
My
buffer is
nostrils.
you. And Winnie, despite my wishes, has brought the bottle straight back into the office. So that'll go well.
No respect.
Really well. Now she's playing a game with it, it's much louder.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
that'll work really well. Thanks,
No,
Winnie.
she's taking it out now. No, she's
Okay.
not. She's, wow.
Anyway, welcome to We Describe Dogs.
Slick professionalism of this
Yeah.
show.
All right. So,
Yeah, I do you want to see Mad Max Fury Road sequel?
yeah, Fury Highway. They should just go Fury Roundabout.
Fury Freeway.
Yeah. Mad Max Fury Freeway, Mad Max Fury Roundabout, Mad Max Fury.
I guess the question is, and look, this is no disrespect to George or whatever, but considering what those films are to make, I think, he's earned some time off. Like, I would be happy if he oversaw another director coming in and maybe having a crack at it. I think that may not be a bad thing. In the same way that, look, if George wants to do the next one, fucking, I'm 100%, I'll buy the first ticket front row. But I would also think that in the same way that Star Wars has been handed off to other filmmakers to say, hey, this is what we'd do with this universe you've created, I'd be excited to see like another director come in and have a crack at it.
Yeah, but I like Star Wars. They didn't give it to another director until fucking George Miller had until George Lucas had fucked it heaps of times. Whereas, George Miller's coming off like the last one being awesome.
Well,
I want to see him make it. I don't trust anybody to make it as well as he would make it.
I read this interview when I was in LA. I went and saw Assault on Precinct 13, which is like one of John Carpenter's earliest films. And John Carpenter is one of these kind of cult filmmakers who made a bunch of fucking films that people know and love, but never really had mainstream success. Like Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing. They're probably the closest Starman. But he never really transitioned into being like that blockbuster Spielberg type director. He always sort of stayed in that kind of indie genre. And now they remake his films all the fucking time. Like The Fog gets remade. Can't think of one of the film of his. Escape from New York, they're remaking. So they keep remaking his films, and he just keeps getting paychecks. And someone said to him, like, aren't you protective of like? And he's like, no, fuck that. Like, you said the paycheck I get for doing absolutely nothing. They credit me as a producer. I get this big, keep fucking remaking my stories, man. I have no problem with that at all. It's like, I kind of like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think like George is at that age now where, you know, I mean, eventually
We should literally just fucking walk down your street and ask him.
just
these
ask him,
questions.
just shout
He
it,
lives in the area. Let's just go
shout
knock on
it through his
door.
window. It's weird that we've speculated so much where really we could have just walked out and asked him these questions.
We should do that right now. Let's just take the fucking the H6 with us. We'll walk down your street and we'll live commentate as we knock on George's door.
George, it says here, and by the way, do you think Tom Hardy rescued some kids off a motorbike? Do you think that's true? Sorry. The first of the two movies Miller said would be called Mad Max The Wasteland, and might end up going deeper than expected in terms of apocrypha for Fury Road.
What's apocrypha?
I don't really know. If we get...
Apocryphal tale, isn't that when something's made up?
Yeah.
Apocrypha.
Well, so I guess it means it might go deeper into what's been made up.
Yeah, right.
If we get to make another movie, the Doof Warrior will be there, Miller said,
Amazing.
referring to the figure with the flame-throwing guitar from the last movie.
Oh, like you need to tell us who the Doof Warrior is.
Well, I mean, they, in the article, have told
I
us.
love that. I love that. This is how great a fucking filmmaker George Miller is. This is a character who is so minor to that fucking film, but he's aware enough to know that it had such a fucking cultural impact that he can reference it in an article to promote his new film. It's genius.
He says here, I know who his mother was.
Hey!
Hang on, George. Hang on, what? Are you boasting now? Is that what you're... If you know what I mean. And then winked at the journalist. I know who his mother was. I know how it was that a man who is mute and blind survived the apocalypse. I know his story.
I'm sorry, has that been disabled? Is that suggesting that someone who is blind and mute, the only way they can survive in the wasteland is to give blowjobs?
I mean, it was only implied that this guy, he was going to a lot of doofs.
Yeah.
You know what it's like at doofs.
Totally. Take a bit of
Things get-
ecstasy,
at 3 o'clock in the morning.
loosey-goosey.
Everyone's fucking blind, mate.
Gay, straight, whatever.
Exactly. I'm the doof warrior. No, he's obviously he's mute and blind, and he's survived through his powers of doof.
Doof, yeah.
His doof powers.
Yeah.
So there's Mad Max
What's the other one called?
Wasteland, and I thought it said in this article, but maybe
Mad Max TBC.
and Mad Max and an untitled Mad Max project. I mean, I guess
If you got James Mangold, who did Logan,
ah,
in to do Mad Max Wasteland, I reckon that'd be fucking dope. I mean, he gets that Western genre, that modern Western genre. He gets big spectacle. Logan is essentially a variation on the Mad Max anti-hero. Like, would you like to see James Mangold Mad Max?
to be honest, now that you've just mentioned that, all I really want to see is George Miller's Logan.
Oh, fuck, that'd be...
Right?
incredible.
See?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
why George Miller should direct it, because that idea is still better than the other way
Yeah,
around,
you're
right? That's my point. It's like, yeah, there's a point where I think these Mad Max stories might get told by other directors, but at the moment, while we still have the guy who knows how to do it, I reckon let him have at least another
You're
roll
right.
at
You know
it.
what? I'm being ageist.
Yeah.
I'm looking out as someone who doesn't know George Miller personally at all, but I'm like, oh God, like it's such a long time to get that first one made, and you're in the desert for a year, and then like another 2 years of post. You know, maybe just take it easy. Fuck, if he wants to do it,
Yeah.
Why am I putting limitations?
What,
on
he's
him?
going to start, he's going to make his next one in his 80s after he's had a few years off.
Yeah.
Get him done now,
Well, he
mate.
says in that interview that he wants to make another film in between to clear his. There's actually a quote. Find it. He says he wants to make another film in between to something like clear the mind or something.
Happy Feet 3. Just
No,
there's
it's something smaller.
just
I
as a
believe.
palate cleanser. All right, here we go. We'll just go to the Sydney Morning Herald site. Guess what?
What?
It's our good friend Rob Moran.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
He's back.
he's back.
Oh, I was calling him Paul before. I
Oh, whatever.
apologize.
I'm sure he's just glad for the attention.
Well, you were calling him Tom Hardley, so I can call you Paul. Rob.
Well, I think Rob. You called Tom Hardy Tom Hardley. So,
Probably one of the most famous movie stars in the world.
George Miller has again stoked the flames for a return to his dusty dystopian wasteland,
Ah, nice alliteration.
saying he has 2 new Mad Max screenplays already completed. All right. Blah blah blah.
Wanna do another
Okay.
film?
The action epic, almost 15 years in the making and shot over 120 days in 2012. Okay, so you're right. It took a long time to make that film. The lengthy delay in getting the film to screen, its predecessor was 1985's Beyond Thunderdome, resulted in a wealth of material and backstories from the Mad Max universe. We dug down deep into the subtext, the backstory of all the characters
Dug
and
down
indeed
deep
the world.
into the dirty dystopian wasteland.
And without really thinking about it, we wrote 2 other screenplays, just part as the Bible of stories. Right. While the 72-year-old director confirmed he'll take on a quick and small project first to reboot the brain.
Reboot the brain.
So he's going to reboot his brain with just a quick project. What would that be? Just a quick, small. What would you like to see George Miller do just as a little...
Well, all right, but it's also in context, as small as compared to $150 million Mad Max Fury Road.
Right.
So it could still be like, George Clooney, World War II, fucking whatever. Like, I don't think he's making Clerks.
It'd be great if he did, though.
George Miller rebooting Clerks.
Clerks. George
That would
Miller's
be
doing a scene by scene, like one of those scene by scene
like
remakes.
Gus Van Sant
Yeah.
with Psycho.
Not changing one bit of it.
That'd be amazing. Shooting on black and white.
Who would you
Not on
cast? So
camera.
if he was going to cast a couple of
So Dante and Randall.
Yeah.
Right. So Dante. Oh, he's got a bit of a Dante about him.
so you need somebody who's like
Michael
what?
Shannon.
He's Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon with a beard.
Yeah, Michael Shannon could definitely play Dante.
Like, I mean, because we want to. We're not trying to go like similes, right? We want to do. This is George's. Version,
This is George Miller's
version of Clerks.
Clerks.
Yeah. Okay. Michael,
Clarks.
Yeah. Michael Shannon is Dante, and then
Yep.
Randall. So Randall's kind of like the sarcastic.
Ryan Reynolds doing a comedy role again.
Yeah, that's good. Are they close? Are they similar enough in age though?
And
Feel
Michael
might be-
Shannon and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, might have to recast.
Ryan Reynolds might be too old. Are you saying?
No, I'm saying Shannon's too old.
Oh, but Shannon can play all sorts of ages. Have you ever seen like?
But the whole thing about Clerks, right? Isn't
Yeah.
like it's a 20-something.
Yeah, that's true. You kind
So
of
we've
need.
cast way too old.
Yeah, that's
Let's
a good
reboot.
point. Well,
Alright.
maybe George Miller's made them. Like this is his twist on it. It's a scene by scene, but they're both now in their mid-30s.
Well, how
but
about
having
this?
the same jobs?
Well, they've made 2 Clerks movies. How about this? Kevin Smith
yeah.
sells the rights to Clerks, and George Miller buys them and decides to make Clerks 3.
Clerks 3.
So it's middle-aged Clerks. You can cast Michael Shannon and Ryan Reynolds. I think that would pass.
Yeah.
I think if you cast them as an old Don, I mean the poor actors from the original Clerks would be spewing.
They get
Like-
they get cameos.
Okay, all
Like-
right, sure.
like
As
in
the,
the-
ambulance guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Who come to get the girlfriend from the toilet. At
Yeah,
the end.
Ghostbusters stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Shannon and Ryan Reynolds. I can see that totally.
Okay.
And it's still set in the convenience store.
Who
Are
play-
you saying shot for shot remake?
Yeah, shot for shot remake. Who plays Jay and Silent Bob?
Ah, that's good. Well, George Miller has to play Silent
George
Bob.
Miller plays
That's
Silent Bob.
amazing. Yeah,
Yes.
that makes sense.
George Miller is Silent Bob in George Miller's Clerks. A scene-by-scene remake of the cult classic by superstar director George Miller, starring George Miller as Silent Bob.
Wouldn't you love to see George Miller just mugging it up, doing all that kind of like silent mime acting and stuff, wearing an overcoat and a backwards baseball cap? So who's Jay then?
Yeah.
Jay. So you need a sort of scungy, sort of long-haired kind of dude.
And it's got to be someone
Pop.
who's... Oh, yeah.
Same age as George Miller.
I was about to say Iggy Pop's really good, actually, because I was about to say Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So.
I think you want him closer in age to George, though.
Yeah, no, that's good. Iggy
Yeah.
Pop's perfect. Shirt off.
Yeah, I would fucking love
And he'd be like,
to see this.
yeah, I can
film.
imagine Iggy Pop doing the whole berserker sort
Yeah,
of bit outside the fast talking.
Hey, Hey, slut, you ever had your ass licked by a fat man in an overcoat? Yeah, awesome.
Well, George Miller just stands there silently.
And I wonder if, too, can you retool, because there's a lot of Star Wars references.
Yeah.
Can you retool it? Are you allowed to toy the script at all? Can you retool it to maybe reference the prequels or, where Star Wars is now?
Yeah, I reckon there'd be a couple of moments
You can update it.
where you update it, but I reckon what you do
Oh,
is
hang on. I'm confused. But we've said he's making Clerks 3.
Oh, Clerks 3. Sorry,
But
we're
it's
not. We're not doing a scene by
No, so
scene.
it doesn't have
No,
to be.
because you said we were
Yeah.
originally doing a shot by shot
Okay, but we're not doing
remake,
that.
but now we're
doing Clerks 3.
doing Clerks 3.
Miramax, I'm not sure if you know this, but George Miller.
We've
George,
got two
I don't know if you
ideas.
know this.
George has got two ideas. Which one do you like the most?
Can you imagine that? Like that would be amazing. That's the kind of, they've just announced that David Fincher is going to be directing a sequel to World War Z.
Oh,
And I did not care for World War Z. Couldn't imagine there was a sequel even in that. But you tell me that David Fincher's going to direct it, I'm like, all right, I'm in.
well, that's like one of those points in a story. Like, I mean, we were talking about this the other day with The Mummy, where if you feel like there's enough in the story, you could make a good movie out of it. And I think that's the same with World War Z. There's enough good stuff there. They just need a better director to come in and make a better movie.
But it's just weird, isn't it, that just let him make his own. There's nothing about the first World War Z that you're like, oh well, you need to have these characters. That was so generic in terms of a zombie survival film. Like, just give David Fincher, Brad Pitt, and
How big, how much power do you think that, say, George Miller had? Because imagine, if his project, for example, was he just didn't like the last episode of Lost. And he goes, as my project, I'm going to make a final episode of Lost. The definitive final episode of Lost. He really loved the show, but he was disappointed by the final episode. So his new
Is he
project
making it to
is
go to cinemas or just to go as a Netflix?
watch it wherever you want. It'll
Right.
be released in
Streaming.
cinemas, but you
Okay.
can then
Oh,
it'll just be everywhere.
comprehensive universal.
Yeah, universal re-release.
release.
It's his passion project. He just always wanted to remake the last episode of Lost.
Well, I mean, when you think about Psycho, that's essentially what happened. Gus Van Sant obviously went to some studio and was like, I'm going to do a shot-for-shot remake of Psycho. And they're like, oh, you mean inspired by it? It's like, no, literally frame sizes will be the same, performances will be the same, everything will be exactly the same. And someone's like, okay, sure, here's $40 million.
Right.
So, yeah, it could happen.
Yeah. I would like to see it happen.
I actually met the cinematographer of that Psycho
If you were Spielberg, you'd feel like you could do that all the time. There was a time where he was big enough that he just must have been watching things and going, fuck it, I'm just going to go and remake this better.
I think that would happen all the time. If Spielberg decided to do that, definitely. I don't know George Miller, as successful as he is, I don't know he has enough juice, but I reckon Steven Spielberg could pick any fucking property that was available and say he wants to make the final episode of Happy Days as a feature film. He would get it for sure.
Okay, what about this then? At the height of CSI, one of the things that happened was that Quentin Tarantino, who was a big fan of CSI, directed an episode.
He also did that with ER as well, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the example, right? Someone who's got a little bit of heat is using it just to kind of go and direct his favorite show or add his twist to stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, what would be that thing now? Who would you love to see, of the modern day directors? Just look at TV and go, I'd love to see an episode of them doing.
Well, I guess something on Netflix. Wouldn't it be great to see one of those old school 80s directors like a Toby Hooper or a Joe Dante do an episode of Stranger Things? If Wes Craven was still around, that'd be amazing to see him do American Horror Story. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, right.
But maybe we're just sounding like old men. Maybe those dudes, the whole reason why, shows like that exist is because it's the second generation who were influenced.
Oh, there's no doubt we sound like old dudes.
What would be great to see Paul McCartney come out and play with 21 Pilots. He had a bit of a hip jam in the 60s.
All right, so he's going to do a quick and small project to reboot the brain.
Yeah, the Clerks 3.
And then, Mad
By
Max.
the way, can I just say, Reed Parker, there you go. Silent Bob, George Miller, please.
In January, Tom Hardy all but confirmed he'd be reprising the iconic role, telling a TV panel it's a question of when. I'm there. I'm just waiting for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's not a lot of details, but there are some details.
I was surprised. Yeah, I feel like everything that article talked about, I already knew. I was not surprised by anything in that.
Yeah, although if newspapers only wrote information that you didn't know about the Mad Max franchise, they wouldn't write a lot about the Mad Max franchise. And you wouldn't have a lot of your information because you read about it in the newspaper originally.
Good point.
All right, speaking of movie, actually, let's have a little pause just for a
All right.
second, and then we'll come back with another movie news.
And we're back.
We're back, yes. Okay, so some more news that has been sent to us. Children of the 1970s and 1980s rejoice. A cult favourite is getting a revamp. Monkey Magic is heading back to the screen and will air as 10 half-hour episodes on ABC TV, TV New Zealand and Netflix later this year. How do you feel about this, Monkey Magic? The return of Monkey Magic.
I was excited by this. I actually didn't even realize it was happening until about 3 weeks ago. My manager in the States actually was telling me he's got a client who's working on the show. But then I saw the photo. And it's like...
Look, they don't really look like the original cast.
No. Well,
is what's fair to say.
Here's the thing about the original series. I believe, and you may need to fucking hit Mr. Wikipedia on this, but I believe the original series of Monkey was a Japanese production of a Chinese myth, which I think you're okay with, all right? Like, I'm not an expert in Japanese-Chinese relations, but I think that you're like, okay, sure.
I don't know. There might be some cultural, but here we go. Monkey TV series. Sayuki,
That sounds Japanese.
Journey to the West,
No, that sounds
is
Chinese.
also known by its English title, Monkey.
Yes,
Also commonly referred to as Monkey Magic,
yes.
the show's title song. A Japanese television drama
There
based
you go.
on the Chinese novel Journey
Yeah.
to the West.
Okay. So, therefore, I think you'll allow that. Wouldn't
Yep,
you, won't you
I'll
will?
allow that. I'll allow it.
That fucking ethical minefield.
I'll allow the ethical minefield that it is, yes.
Whereas this one, I mean, they don't look Asian.
Look, they don't really look Asian. There is one major problem. Look, the guy who plays Pigsy, and there were two Pigsy I remember in the original series. There was like the original Pigsy, and then the Pigsy got replaced halfway through Pippa Style. Yeah.
That dirty sex offender Pigsy. Hello, young ladies. It's
Yeah.
like, you are horrible.
I think a lot of Pigsy stuff probably has to be updated.
Yeah,
I think a
totally.
lot of Pigsy stuff wouldn't fly in this modern age.
So you think him sweating and get excited watching girls like shower?
I think-
maybe wouldn't fly in this.
Pigsy was of a
Sanitized.
different time.
Yeah, totally.
So your new
Pigsy is now president of the United States.
Your new Pigsy is firstly big. He's more your wild Borsey rather
Yeah.
than the new Pigsy. He's
right.
he's a massive looking fella. He's got a beard and a man bun.
Yeah.
And he's like a sort of rake or whatever it was.
A Chinese samurai, but not quite Asian man bun.
Right. And then the guy who's playing Monkey, Chai Hansen,
He's very handsome.
he's very handsome. Rhymes with handsome. Hansen. He looks like,
Keanu Reeves.
yeah, or Taylor
Lautner.
Lautner.
Yeah.
Very Taylor Lautner. Tripitaka, still a bit asexual. Still, you kind of
Yeah,
got your...
so is that a boy or a girl?
well, it's played by a girl,
Okay.
Luciane Buchanan.
But he's still the priest boy.
Yeah, the priest boy.
So that's weird. Like, you are rebooting the series, and that's the one quirk, the one confusing to a lot of us developing males being attracted to that boy priest. You've kept that? Like, why didn't they just cast a boy?
Well, I mean, maybe that's like, being, kind of, it's
That's
the
the
original...
one tip of the hat?
Yeah, that's the tip of the hat.
The one tip of the top knot?
Well, then they've gone out on a real limb with Sandy, because Sandy now a woman.
Yep.
Sandy was not a woman previously, so
No.
that's your modern update there.
And for people who aren't aware, they're all gods. So gender probably is a fluid kind of thing. Like the only person who's mortal is Tripitaka. Monkey's a monkey god, Pigsy's a pig god, and Sandy is a
sort of
sea monster.
Sea monster.
I think that's right. I actually think she's not a god. Maybe she's a sea monster. Or hey, it.
We'll find
That
out.
deity.
Let's go and find out what the characters were. Let's look at plot summary. The title character is described in the theme song as being
Born in an egg on a mountain top.
Stone egg, and thus he is a stone monkey.
Yeah, in the age before monkey, the primal chaos reigned. Hang on, we're again straying into a fucking ethical minefield, aren't we?
Well, you're doing an impression
Of a voiceover. Yeah.
of a voiceover.
Who
so
probably
that's-
wasn't even Asian to begin with because it was dubbed into English. So that was probably a white dude doing that voiceover.
Okay, here we go. So this is the story. So he's a stone monkey, a skilled fighter who becomes a brash king of the monkey tribe, who, the song goes on to claim, was the punkiest monkey that ever popped.
Yeah.
He
He knew every magic that was under the sun.
He achieved a little enlightenment and proclaimed himself great sage, equal of heaven. After demanding the gift of a magical staff from the powerful Dragon King, and to quiet the din of his rough antics on Earth, Monkey is approached by Heaven to join their hosts, first in the lowly position of master of the stable, manure disposal, and then, after his righteous complaints, as keeper of the peach garden of immortality.
But you know what he does in that garden?
Monkey eats many of the peaches.
Yeah.
Which, millions of peaches for me. He sings that song by the Presidents of the United States of America. I hope they do that in the remake.
Yeah.
They should have peaches by the United States
Yeah.
of America over the top.
Peaches do come in a can. They'll put there by
By a man. As the ancient myth said. So Monkey eats many of the peaches, which have taken a millennia to ripen, becomes immortal, and runs amok. Having earned the ire of Heaven and being beaten in a challenge by an omniscient, mighty, but benevolent cloud-dwelling Buddha. That's what I loved, that Buddha was in the show.
Yeah.
Buddha was like a recurring character.
Yeah, totally.
Buddha was like the guy...
Heather Locklear.
Yeah.
A very special
guest
ongoing.
Buddha.
Yeah.
No, Buddha was like, what was the guy who lived next to Tim Allen in Home Improvement?
Wilson.
Yeah, who you only saw like over the fence.
But Buddha, correct me if I'm wrong, was also portrayed by a female. I wonder if that's some
Yes.
kind of Chinese or Japanese, like, you know, in Shakespearean tradition, for instance, like women never took the stage. Like Romeo and Juliet would be played all by men. I wonder
Yep.
if that is some version of that.
Yeah, well, from the famous movie they made about that, Monkey in Love. So Monkey is imprisoned for 500 years under a mountain to learn patience.
Yeah.
Eventually, in 630 AD, Monkey is released by the monk Tripitaka, who has been tasked by someone to undertake a pilgrimage from China to India to fetch holy scriptures.
Scrolls, yeah.
The pair soon recruit two former
a
members.
long time ago, when men were all made. Remember the closing
I
credits?
do. The pair.
Angara, Angara, they say it was in India. God, you know what that sound says to me? I have to have a bath and get ready for bed. Because that's what normally would happen. Is it's like I've had dinner, Charlie's got to get in a bath and get ready for bed now when I'd hear that music.
So the pair soon recruit two former members of their heavenly host who are cast out and turn from angels to monsters as a result of Monkey's transgressions. Sandy, the water monster, an ex-cannibal. Ooh.
That's why Sandy in the original Monkey Magic
Had all the
around his
skulls.
neck.
That's right, yeah. Expelled from heaven after
He was always a whiny sod, wasn't he?
Wasn't he,
in that
Sandy?
show?
Always
what
complaining.
a downer! It was like it was like Eeyore. It was
Yeah.
like, Monkey, this is too hard. We can't do it. My head is dry. Someone spit on it.
Yeah, he was so C3PO, wasn't he?
Yeah, totally.
Expelled from heaven after his interference called Heaven's Jade Emperors, precious jade cup to be broken, and Pigsy, a pig monster consumed with lust and gluttony,
Oh, young ladies.
who was
Hello.
expelled from heaven after harassing the star Princess Vega, the Jade Emperor's mistress, for a kiss.
Oh, look, it was just locker room talk. It
Just
was
locker room
It was
talk.
just locker cloud talk.
He just
was
wanted to
in
grab her on
heaven.
the pussy, which was a pussy monster who was expelled from heaven. A dragon, Yu Lung, who was set free by Guanyin,
Kanye, the hair, the
by
shampoo.
Kanye, after being sentenced to death, eats Tripitaka's horse.
That's right, because that was in the second series. The
Yeah.
dude, he was like the White Ranger, but in like monkey terms.
On discovering that the horse was tasked with carrying Tripitaka, it assumes the horse's shape to carry the monk on his journey. Later in the story,
I mean, that's got to be weird, right? Like, I mean, you know he can transmogrify,
yeah.
but when you're Tripitaka, you know that you're riding around on some dude's back, right? You know what I mean? Like, your balls are on his back and stuff, and it's just a bit weird. When he transforms into his human form, does he remember that you farted You know, when they were going, you know, he was cantering up that hill and you accidentally farted on him.
Well,
Does he bring that up?
firstly, your balls won't be on his back because you're actually a woman.
No, but Chippy Duck is a boy.
Yeah, in the show.
Yeah.
But it was played by a woman.
Yeah, but
So no balls.
yeah, but also he wasn't
Literally no
transforming
balls.
from a horse into a man when he's doing the show, Will.
Oh, man, it's a good bloke.
I'm talking about within the universe.
Sorry, Tom Hartley. I get confused between real life and movies. Okay. So on discovering later in the story, he occasionally assumes human form to assist his new master, although he's always still referred to as horse.
And also to let his master know that he remembers him farting on his back.
Monkey
When he's cantering up that hill.
He helps him in tasks, but also constantly reminds him of the farts.
And then are you feeding him like hay? When he's in horse form,
Yeah.
like, well, so they're going to take a smoko, 15-minute break, get some water, have something to eat. Does he transform back into human form
Yeah.
to eat like a
Has a
muesli
pie.
bar? Or a pie? Or does he stay in horse form and eat some hay?
He turns back into a human, has a big M and a pie, and then turns back into a horse. He's like, hay tastes wrong, man. Monkey could also change form, for instance, into a hornet.
Really? I didn't know that.
In episode 3, The Great Journey Begins, Monkey transforms into a girl to trick Pigsy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To
I
trick him.
transformed into a girl to trick him.
Yeah,
It's
we
like
get it.
Eddie Murphy saying, I was just giving that transvestite
A
a lift home.
Just a lift
Yeah.
home on my magical cloud. Monkey's other magic powers include summoning a cloud upon which he can fly. His use of the magic wishing staff, which he can shrink and grow at will from time to time. When shrunk, store in his ear.
In his ear.
That was always the best, where he would pull it out of his ear and then he'd like make it
big.
make it big, and then he'd have a fight with it. That was pretty cool. And him whistling for the crowd because it was like.
Yeah, man.
That was
How many,
big.
like,
That
as
was
a
big.
kid,
That was big in the playground.
Oh,
Summoning
wasn't
the
it?
cloud,
Yeah.
wasn't it? So he can use his magic wishing staff, and the ability to conjure monkey warriors by blowing on hairs
that's right.
plucked
It
from
rip-
his chest.
That's right. Pluck hairs from him.
That's
Yeah.
right. The pilgrims face many perils. Blah blah blah.
They don't mention. I think there's something missing from that. Where
Which is?
the reason Monkey wears that
Oh, the
band
protect
around his head
because Tripitaka can.
control it. Like
Yeah.
if he misbehaves, she
Yeah,
does
she
a little
start
prayer,
praying.
and he's like, "Oh, stop it! Yeah,
Yeah, it's a pretty
Michael.
great show. Pretty great show. Anyway, they're remaking Monkey Magic with a brand new cast.
I mean, if they can do what you just read me, then actually made me excited
Such
to go
a good
back
show.
and watch it. Like
Yeah.
it's just because I actually read the book it's based on, which is like a fucking 500-year-old, novel. I guess. What do you call it? It's like a mythology. It's like a whatever.
book
Yeah, but
is the word you're looking for. Book.
But what's the genre when it's like an ancient myth? It's like, I mean, what is that for?
Mythology.
Mythology? A book
Yeah,
of the
probably a book of mythology.
Anyway, it's called The Journey West or The
Yep.
Pilgrimage West, whatever. And it's like reading Lord of the Rings because it is filled with all those amazing kind of characters and scenarios and stuff. If this new show can tap into
And
that,
it's essentially a hero's journey. Like it's a really simple hero's journey.
Literally.
Yeah.
But Monkey is the classic anti. I mean, this has been the TOEFOP about anti-heroes, but
Right.
Monkey's the classic anti-hero. He's the god who was fucking too boisterous and fucking outspoken. So he's been sent on this journey to assist someone else, to put his ego aside.
Charlie, are you saying he's Mad Monkey? Are we saying this should be George Miller's project?
Mad Monkey Scripture Road.
I mean, I would love to see that. George Miller's Monkey Magic.
Fuck yes.
Right?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
You could definitely see that work.
Why not? I mean, DC are doing a TV universe and a cinematic universe. That's what we want to see, Will. Sorry, Kevin Smith. Clerks 3 is on hold. George Miller with Keanu Reeves playing Monkey. Amazing.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty good actually.
We're in. Although the whitewashing controversy, you'd have to cast. I
Well,
think Keanu gets away
Keanu
with
Reeves, like he has
it. Asian blood.
Asian blood, right?
But I think the rest of the cast. I'll give you Kate Blanchett as the sea monster. But
No. We got to get. I reckon we go back to like more traditional
okay,
casting.
so Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, Michelle Yeoh. She'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Does Jackie Chan has to be like
Horse.
Yes,
The horse.
Yeah, not Pigsy. He's
No.
too lovable. Horse.
No, just occasionally pops up in an
Oh,
episode.
does Jackie Chan play Monkey? No, Monkey's gonna be sexy. I think.
Yeah, I think Monkey's got to be a bit younger than Jackie Chan.
Chow Yun Fat as Pigsy.
All right.
Although he's a bit more. He's a bit Clint Eastwood. You know what I mean? Pigsy need comic. Who's like a
An Asian comic
Oh,
actor.
the fucking Hangover guy.
Oh,
What's his
what
name?
is his name?
Lung? Ken
Ken.
Ling?
Yeah, he's
Ken Lung?
yeah Ken someone.
Ken Long. Kenneth Leong.
Ken Yong. Jeong.
Jeong.
Ken Jeong. Jeong.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
could be, because he's
Yeah.
probably the most famous. Oh, there's a guy. Yeah,
He's pretty good though. He could definitely,
Because Pigsy is comic relief, right?
yeah, absolutely, and he could definitely be kind of a sleazy take on Pigsy. Yeah, I like
Alright,
that.
That's in. So here's Trippy Tarka then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you need.
Are you going to cast a girl or are you going to cast a boy?
No, it's got to be a girl, right? And it's got to be someone like it'd be, it'd be that one of those people that you cast like, you know who could do it, like a Natalie Portman or somebody like that.
Don't you want to keep it though Asian?
Oh yeah, good point. Who's your Asian Natalie
No,
Portman?
think of female Asian leads under 20.
I know it's probably
It'd
the
have to be-
industry doesn't really
You know what?
support that, does
That would
it?
be the one role.
And
that-
introducing,
exactly. I was going to say that's
yeah,
you
and
can do an-
introducing as Tripitaka.
Yeah, because Trippy Tarka
Yeah.
has the least to do.
Yeah.
I mean, although it's
It could be some
ostensibly
like
their
K-pop
journey.
star or something like that. Like you find some
Now we're
huge,
talking,
like
yeah,
someone
yeah,
who's
yeah.
huge in one of those
China.
big markets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some big Chinese star
Yeah.
who's never had a big movie before. You get them
Exactly.
in as Tripitaka.
and you do it in English. The whole film in English.
Hey, yeah, we still got to do it in English.
Come on,
Come on, guys.
George Miller spending
We
$150
mostly
million.
cast Asians.
Yeah, that's interesting because they've been. I mean, that's something that they've been discussing a lot before I left LA. In the Hollywood Reporter, was this kind of couple of attempts now to bridge the Chinese Hollywood market. Like the Great Wall is obviously like a big sign of that, but they haven't. The question is, well, how do you do it when you need to cast? How do you tell Asian stories casting Hollywood actors or vice versa, really? And no one's really been able to bridge it. But I think something like Monkey could work. Because
Right.
it's virtually the Lord of the Rings of Asian cinema in a way. Or could
You
be the
don't
Lord of the
necessarily
Rings.
need all big name actors.
No, and I think you can accept a post-racial world in that environment because it's fantasy, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I think get George on the phone.
I like it. I like it.
I wonder, yeah, that's definitely in there. But anyway, we'll give this show a shot.
All right. We should finish up, but there's one more story that got sent to us,
Okay.
so we can do this one as well. It turns out that we've heard of like female sex dolls, obviously,
Yeah.
but it turns out that
Oh God.
realistic-looking baby sex dolls and women made of plastic have been the talk of the town for a while now. Today, women are equally as fascinated by them. Companies like Real Doll have mastered the art of making realistic sex dolls and are now going to make male sex dolls as well. These male sex dolls will be battery-powered
Oh.
and can be charged for as long as you want them to last.
Right, because the penis will vibrate.
With the new technology, these sex dolls will be able to respond to verbal dialogue and will also be able to simply outperform any other sex toy and probably your partner too. At the moment, they're calling it the ultimate pleasure experience. These sex dolls with bionic penises may just want you to not feel the need for real men. These robot male sex dolls are so smart that they're packaged as the ultimate boyfriends. They can indulge in conversations
What?
that they will even have a backstory and a past.
What is going on? Is this real? Is this written by Paul fucking Moran?
Yeah, look, it's not well written. But basically, look, male sex dolls.
So they can, when they say they'll have backstories, as in, is it like the Cabbage Patch Kids had backstories that came in the packaging, or will it sit there and tell you that his father never loved him? Imagine if the backstories are all really tragic.
terrible.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in this day and age, you'll be able to load in whatever backstory you want.
Well, if you fucking as an adult has ended up as a sex doll, chances are you had a pretty fucked childhood. I imagine that sex doll doesn't have a lot of good things to say. To be in that position in life, something bad has happened.
yeah,
prior.
you could have been like, mate, I could have been a mannequin
Yeah.
in the front. You know what my dream was? Maya Windows, mate.
Do you think
Christmas
I want a
supply.
bionic penis?
You know what I wanted to be doing?
You've reduced me down to just a body part.
I'm an advanced supercomputer robot, and you're just fucking me? I had dreams. I wanted to be a Terminator, but look at me. Look at what I've become. It's a weird backstory.
Really, program that in. We shouldn't have got Lars von Trier in to write all the backstories.
it seemed like a big name at the time, but they've all gone in a pretty depressing and dark way. All right. We've probably done enough, right? We should.
We've you know what? We've done a tidy 58 minutes. Let's
Okay,
talk for
nice.
another
We'll
90
do,
seconds.
yeah, we'll do plugs and then we'll be out of here. So we have a Patreon page. It is tofop.com/Patreon. If you support this podcast for as little as $1.
No, you got it the wrong way around. It's patreon.com/tofop.
Oh, what did I say?
Tofop.com/Patreon.
Tofop.com/Patreon. That
That'll
would
take you
imply,
nowhere.
yeah, that will take you. If you want to go nowhere, go to tofop.com/anything. However, patreon.com/tofop.
Yeah.
There is one. And if you join for as little as $1 a month,
Yeah.
you get the James Fosdyke
Yeah.
3-panel.
3-panel,
Yeah,
only 3
cartoon.
panels. He whips it up in a couple of hours.
Takes him
no time at
just
all.
a tiny little bit
So easy
to do.
In fact, I think we're overpaying him for how easy it is for him to do.
Yeah. We also pay him $1 a month.
But seriously, folks,
it's brilliant.
Fuck, man.
It's so good.
There's-
It gets better and better every week.
Yeah, the one that's out at the moment, the Chuck Norris, is
Chuck Norris, Aaron Norris.
amazing. And the one that's coming out in a couple of weeks, the sizzle on that, like, it's just... I had to actually go back, it's the only time I've done this, to listen to what inspired the strip. And when I listen to it, I'm like, wow, he's been very kind to us. Our fleeting reference, he has turned into something fucking incredible.
Well, that's what happens so often with these things because they're not like literal transcripts of
No.
stuff that happens on the podcast. They're moments from the podcast that James kind of gets inspired by and then goes off and kind of tells his own story. They're the Rogue One
Yeah,
of, they're all canon.
yeah.
They all count as canon,
Yeah.
but they are definitely like the Doctor Who books.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, what I can see happening if as these strips go on, it's like it used to be, hey, it's the Adventures of Will and Charlie, and the last few strips there's like no Will and Charlie, so eventually it's just going to be, forget about it. Don't worry about it. Those guys are they'll
or
just do.
eventually the comic strip will get so big it's bigger than the podcast.
Yeah, totally.
And then people will go, you know, there's a podcast that goes with this comic strip. I was like, nah, I don't want to listen to that. I just like the strip, mate. It's heaps better.
Yeah, so you should definitely, if you've look, we're not asking for you to fucking sign up at a level you can't afford, but for as little as $1 a month, you'll get all this shit, and it helps us out for sure.
Oh, by the way, we should say thank you to everyone who bought posters, the brilliant James Fosdyke posters at the Melbourne Comedy Festival live show.
Yeah.
I did not see the posters get sold. John Deeks and his daughter went out and sold the posters for us.
Yeah.
If people can give us feedback on how that happened, because he sold so many posters.
I know. It was unbelievable. He actually, I thought he was joking. He said, do you want me to go out and sell these for you? And I was like, yeah, sure, expecting that maybe you'd take out
Yeah.
2 or 3. He took the entire stack out, and we made more money from our posters than we've ever made from any show ever before.
But from anything ever. Like it was brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know what happened. Thank you to everyone for buying one. We really appreciate that. We do still have some left, and
Yeah, I'm
we've got
sure-
some from last year as well. And
We actually sort of need to, work out.
well,
what
we
we're
should
gonna do with
find
that
some
stuff.
like level that people give to the Patreon and send them out some signed posters and stuff like that as well.
Sure,
so
sure. I also should say too, I know I've fallen behind on all our $20 Patreon subscribers because we've talked up the dollar price packet, but if you join for $20 a month,
Yep.
you'll get, while stocks last, a copy of the Tofop 100 transcript, which was a show we did at the Comedy Store, which was transcribed by a real-life court stenographer. You'll get a copy of that for yourself, plus
So
access to...
the point is, and you've got to remember about that is the transcript does not necessarily match what was said on the show.
It was her interpretation.
Yeah, that's the great beauty of it.
yeah.
Like,
totally.
it's not like a transcript that we sent the show to somebody and then they just wrote it all down. This is literally what a court stenographer typed up on the night of what she thought we were saying.
A court stenographer who has sat in on murder trials.
Right.
Like,
and she
has
said
heard the
there'd
most
been
heinous
nothing
shit.
ever as horrific as what she witnessed that night.
So for people who do subscribe to that level, I know I've fallen a bit behind on sending the books out, but I send a message out on Patreon. If you haven't checked your Patreon lately, go check it out. If you're waiting for a book, send me your details. I'm going to try and get to that in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're always thinking about... we're back in the same place now for a little while, which is fantastic. So obviously we're going to try to do the podcast as regularly as possible, and we're working on some other things behind the scenes to hopefully, I know after the big live show in Melbourne, we always get requests from everywhere else around Australia going, will you ever come here and do a show? We'd love to at some stage. We don't know if and when that sort of thing might happen, but they're all things that we have in our mind, and the more we can kind of get some support behind the podcast and some finances and stuff, it just helps us to
John Deeks
do more of that stuff.
Costs a fortune. I'll be honest with you.
He's worth it though. Made it back in posters. In fact, I think we only do posters. I think this business is John Deeks selling James Fosdyke stuff. I think that we are actually the problem in the middle of this.
I'll tell you something off air that relates to this. Do you have anything else to promote?
I'm on tour, so I still have dates in Darwin, Perth. I'm there the weekend that the Bulldogs play West Coast. It'll be just down the road from where I'm performing, so that's bad timing. But anyway, I'll be in Perth doing Critically Will. I'll be in Darwin. I'll be in Belmont, and I'll be Nelson Bay, I think. But they're both around Newcastle. So if you're in the Newcastle area, all the details at comedy.com.au. And then I don't know if I'm allowed to announce it yet, but I'll give a bit of sizzle. If you are in Montreal for the Just for Laughs festival, there is a chance that I will be coming your way to do not only...
Imagine if people buy tickets specifically to see you and then it doesn't happen.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be doing, hopefully, my solo show there.
Yeah.
And so if they're buying tickets to my solo show, it means it's actually coming there.
Okay.
In fact, if it's not on yet and you buy a ticket, that'll really convince them that it's a good idea. But it might just be hard to buy a ticket. You might just have to send them $35 in an envelope and go, this is for a Will Anderson ticket.
If and
when you put it on sale.
I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson.